Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm a bit late in a minute, but these British boxing cards, let's be honest, they're all garbage and they ain't really worth staying up for, are they? In all honesty. Let's do a quick sound check. Yes, you can hear me loudly and clearly. Good afternoon to everybody in the chat. What's the undercard been like? I quickly watched Anthony Yard smash some poor donut to pieces. Joyce is currently at the entrance. A career-defining fight for Mr. Joyce, yeah? Big plant pot stepping up to the ring. Is this the end of Joyce? Get your predictions in right now. Let me just see what walkout music he's coming out to. Yeah, he's ditched the music. Joyce has ditched the they don't want a war. They don't want a war with big juggernaut. But so Joyce has ditched that. What's he coming out to? One sec. Oh, he's coming out to a remix of his Big Juggernaut tune. It's some kind of remix. And Joyce is Joyce. That's the that's the West Indian Joyce. Man is skanking to the ring, you know. Joyce on a vibe thing. Man is skanking to the ring, yeah, for his rematch with Zhilei Zhang. Billy Nelson, yeah. Shout out to my very, very good friend Billy Nelson. In one of the best examples of casual racism ever seen on Twitter, when Billy Nelson was asked about who would win between Tyson Fury and Zhilei Zhang. What is it Billy Nelson said on Twitter? Billy Nelson said Zhilei Zhang would eat Tyson Fury's jab like a takeaway meal. Only fucking Billy Nelson would say that shit. That's what he said. Billy Nelson at his absolute finest. Martin Bakole will be on the undercard of the Battle of the Baddest in a couple of weeks' time out in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia to start Riyadh season. Big shout out to our Saudi Arabian sponsors out of there. For tonight, I'll be calling myself. What should I be calling myself? In honor of Riyadh season, you can now refer to me as Ultra Al Bin Salim. That's what you can now refer to me as. Since, you know, like I said before, Saudi Arabia has taken over the world of sport. Saudi Arabia has taken over the world of boxing. And down here at Queensbury, we are absolutely and fully 100% in bed, yeah, with our new Saudi overlords. As you can see there, the ring post covers have Riyadh season written all over them as Zhilei Zhang comes to the ring, yeah, to hopefully, well, I don't know about hopefully, but in a lot of people's eyes, he's going to be the man to win tonight. Let's go through your predictions for the fight. The Slash Hunter is saying Zhang round 6. Shevin is going for Zhang by KO. Boxing Classics is going for Zhang round 8. Chuck says, Ultra, can't we just call you Your Excellency? Now, you can call me by my name, which is Mr. Ultra Al Bin Salim. There you go. Riyadh season is approaching, yeah? Riyadh season is approaching. Capital punishment for anybody who questions my boxing takes on this show. Jason Walker's here. He's going for Zhang in round 8. Joyce in round 4. Randy Savage is going for Joyce in round 7. Vanguard's a man who's going for Joyce in 6. Shall I tell you mine? I'm going to go for Joyce on points. That's what I've gone from basically from the night he lost. Oh, sorry about that. It's my ginger beer from Waitrose. So I'm going with Joyce. I'm going to go with Joyce on points. There's actually quite a few of you now going for Joyce. Gary Harrison's going for Joyce in round 8. Balaj says if Joyce's eye holds up, it will go to points. I'm going for Joyce on points to win this fight. I could be completely wrong. Haven't really done that much study for this fight. You know, my predictions recently have actually been quite good. I think I predicted Lee Wood to beat Mauricio Lara. The night Lee Wood lost his title, I said Lee Wood will take the rematch and he'll win, and he won. I put Chris Eubank Jr. to beat Liam Smith in a rematch. I've done a few others. So actually, my picks this year I think they've been quite solid actually. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm going for Joyce in this fight, and I do think that Joyce is going to make a lot of adjustments in this fight. I tell you what, the weight, though, I normally don't pay attention to the weight, but Joyce is coming into the ring at career heaviers. I don't think Joyce needs to move his head. I think, you know, as much as what people think. I think it's right that Joyce comes in on the correct angles and exits on the correct angles. Simple as that. So I don't think, like I said before, I don't think Joyce needs to be Pernell Whitaker to win this fight tonight and completely change his style, right? But I do think that, like I said before, if Joyce can circle away from the power hand in a given direction, as long as Joyce doesn't end up on the center line tonight, he's got a good chance to win this fight. In the last fight, for me, clearly, I wouldn't say he underprepared, but I don't think it sank in what he was in the ring with, and I don't think it sank in how you deal with somebody like Zhilei Zhang. And sometimes, honestly, for me, a trainer can tell you a million and one things. People in the media can tell you a million and one things. Your promoter can tell you a million and one things. But sometimes you need to be punished in the ring for it to fully get into your brain. Do you know what I mean? We've been talking about Joyce, yeah? You know, defensive angles, coming in on the right angle, coming out on the right angle, not leaving your chin out to dry at the end of punching, these kind of things. We've been talking about this with Joyce here for the last couple of years, right? And he's paid fuck all attention to any of the good advice he's been given. And that's because sometimes you need to be drilled to the canvas, yeah, before these lessons finally sink through, yeah, your braids and get into the brain. Zhang seems to be in the ring praying to some form of god right now. It might be the last dragon for all we know. It is what it is. But yeah, Zhang looks very, very focused in the ring tonight. Yeah, what do you guys think? Vanguard's a Manhood said Joyce's speed will be the same despite the weight gain, more power and better movement. Zhang won't surprise him now. Harder for the victor in a rematch. I do think it is more difficult. I do think that Joyce knows what he's getting in the ring with tonight. He knows what Zhang's weapons are. And like I said before, I think Joyce possibly got a little bit carried away with our IP in the last fight. Sometimes you need to be drilled to the canvas for it to make sense and to sink into your brain. But we'll have to wait and see. Dench is saying, be interesting to see if Joyce is now gun shy. This ain't no Anthony Joshua fight. We'll have to wait and see. Gary Harrison is saying 41 stone in the ring. Holy fuck. These are some big dudes in the ring. LD Phoenix is out here saying that Zhang is going to win this comfortably. John Smith is going for Zhang on points. I would get a poll out, but it's a bit too late because it is time for fight night. We are ready to go. 91 people in the chat inside 8 minutes. If you can please do me a favor, if you'd like to hit the like button, all right, please feel free to hit the like button. That would certainly make me feel a lot better about doing this stream when I could be playing Pro Evolution Soccer or doing something more meaningful with my time. And if you'd like to be part of the chat, please feel free to subscribe and be part of the chat. We are ready to go. The referee has given them their final instructions, and we are off. Round 1, Zhilei Zhang, Joyce 2. WBO interim world heavyweight champion. So if Joyce wins this fight, I'm calling him a world champion. I don't give a fuck about what you say. And straight away, you can see the adjustment from Joyce. Within about 5 seconds, you can see the big adjustment from Joyce over what he did in the first fight. And that is Joyce is circling away from the left hand and moving, yeah, to his left-hand side. So that's a good start from Joyce. He's picked a side. Normally, like I said before in his recent fights, he's been falling down the center line, Joyce. He's been falling down the center line. And for those of you, a lot of you guys in the chat have boxed, I'm sure you guys know, what I'm talking about when I say this here. But for me, in a fight like this, when you've got a guy, especially a guy who can punch and knock you out with either hand, it's really important that you pick a hand. So whether you're going to move to your left or move to your right, you need to make sure that your head doesn't come down the center line of the opponent. If you just imagine an imaginary line splitting the opponent in half vertically, yeah, right through their forehead, right through their chest, down to their stomach. If you imagine a vertical line coming through the opponent, yeah, and splitting them in half, you don't want your head, yeah, to be going down that line because it leaves you in line for both of their punches. And it makes it much harder to read what punches are coming because you're in line for both the shots. Whereas if you step off and make sure you angle around to one side, it's easier to isolate a hand because you're taking yourself out of the line of one hand, and so it makes it easier for you to understand, right, this is the shot that's most likely to come. I know I'm out of the range of the left hand. I know I'm not straight down the middle for the left hand. I know most likely he's going to throw a jab. And then you begin to understand and start reading and timing the shots. Like, angles are really, really important in the sport of boxing. So Joyce at the minute, like, not much has been landed. You can see Zhilei Zhang's tried to get that left hand off early on, but you can see Joyce, yeah, right now, constantly circling to his left-hand side. And Joyce is constantly keeping Zhilei Zhang turning And like I said before, Zhilei Zhang's not really getting set here at the minute. He's not able to get set, which is why he's not throwing, because Joyce is constantly turning him. Another thing you need to watch out for, another adjustment that Joyce has made in this fight as well, is the use of the lead hand. If you watch Joyce, he's feinting that left hook, and then he's turning it behind it. Can you see? He's feinting that left hook of Zhang, and then he's turning. So he feints the left hook, and then he spins Zhang, and he turns him around. Feints the left hook, and he spins him, and he turns him around. Watch out for Joyce landing that left hook later on in the fight, because he was actually quite successful towards the end of the fight with that left hand. I think you guys are quite far ahead of me, actually. I've still got 25 seconds to go, so I do apologize, yeah? I do think I'm a little bit far behind, but I'm going to go with it anyway. There's absolutely nothing in this first round, really. I think Zhang's probably a little bit more aggressive. So if I had to give it to one person, I'll probably give it to Zhang on ring generalship, just because he looks a bit more like the aggressor. He's thrown a couple of shots, none have really landed, but he's actually, you know what I mean, come the closest to landing anything right now. So if I had to give a round, I'll give it to Zhang. But Joyce has already said that he's looking to take this fight late. And I think, like I said before, we need to see Joyce get some offense off, but that first round will give him some confidence, because that first round will show him, yeah, that the adjustments that he was told to make and making are working. So that was a good confidence building round, in my opinion, for Joyce. I would give it to Zhilei Zhang if I had to. What we need to start seeing from Joyce is Joyce getting a little bit more aggressive now with that left hook, getting a little bit more aggressive with the jab, and you know, he's the first round he's done well, he's timed well. He's done well. He's kept Zhang turning, which is good. He's not letting Zhang get set. He's keeping Zhang turning, which is good. But now it's time for me, as you're turning down to your left-hand side, throw a couple of jabs and throw a couple of left hooks. Now try to land off a couple of shots. But I thought that was listen. It wasn't a disastrous first round from Joyce at all. In fact, that's probably, would you say that's the best defensive performance from? I know he didn't offer anything in terms of offense, but would you say defensively that's the best round of Joyce you've ever seen? I think it might be. I have to be honest with you. Zhang's now pushing forward a little bit more. So you can see Zhang's trying to be a little bit more aggressive. And you look at Zhang, what Zhang's trying to do with his lead hand. He's trying to palm Joyce's jab hand down, because he'll want to come over it with his own jab and with his own right hook, yeah? So, like I said, it's a battle of the lead hands at the minute, a battle of the lead hand control. A little trick that Joyce is missing for me is that the straight right hand to the body, Zhang is wide open for that little straight right hand to the body. So we'll have to wait and see. It is what it is. So we'll have to wait and see. So I've got, I don't know, let you guys know how far behind I am. Maybe I can try and catch up. But right now, yeah. I've got it 2 minutes 8 seconds left in round 2. Let me know how far behind I am, because I might consider switching it up if it's that badly. Zhang, did Zhang just land a straight left hand there on the button? I'm not sure, because Joyce kind of caught it on the turn. So right now, like I said before, Joyce is constantly turning to his left hand side, constantly turning to his left hand side, constantly turning to his left hand side. So we'll have to wait and see. Randy Savage, are you saying there's 25 seconds left in round 2? Let me know. Let me know. Because if I'm that far behind, I will definitely speed it up. Let me know. A little jab there from Zhilei Zhang. Obviously, the thing with Joyce is that he's leaning back, which is really bad. Oh, my God. Straight right down the middle there from Zhang. And Joyce was hurt. My God. Oh, okay, so I'm quite far behind then. Okay, but while I try and speed up the stream, let me tell you something right now. The biggest mistake that Joyce is making right now is that he's leaning back. Press 1 if you can see that in the chat. Press 2 if you can't. Press 1 if you can see that. Press 2 if you can't. Can you see that while Joyce is doing a very, very good job of circling away from the power hand, can you see that when Zhilei Zhang starts throwing shots, Joyce is leaning back? And when you're leaning back, like I said, you lose all your balance. You don't lean back like that. You adjust your feet. You step back, yeah, and you bring your feet with you. Does that make sense? But can you see Joyce is leaning back. He's leaning back, and when he's leaning back, he's trapping himself. And now Zhilei Zhang's starting to land that backhand as he's trapping himself on his own back foot. He's trapping himself by leaning back. So he needs to learn. He's moving more laterally, but the problem is he's not moving well in and out. Does that make sense? So what he's doing is he's moving back in straight lines. But what he's doing is he's actually trapping himself by leaning back. Terrible, terrible thing to do. Right. Where are you guys at now? I'm at the end of round 2. Is this a bit better? Yes or no? Because it's not going to get any better than this. Right, let's have a look. You guys are saying Joyce is 100% getting stopped. Well, let's just see. Jesus Christ. Oh, that was a beautiful left hand there from Zhang. There, I'm just on a replay. I'm at the end of round 2. Joyce needs to stop leaning back, but at some point he's going to have to fight fire with fire. Some of these shots were actually hitting gloves, by the way. I can see it on the replay. They weren't as bad as it looked there, but he did get hit with a beautiful straight right hand, straight left hand down the middle. And the problem here is the following, right? As we're waiting for the beginning of round 3 to start. Because Zhang knows that Joyce is leaning back here, he's following in now. So what Zhang's doing is, Zhang is now following Joyce in, getting him to move backwards, yeah? It doesn't really matter if he misses with the first phase because he knows Joyce is leaning back and taking himself off balance. So then he goes for the second phase. Yeah, I'm with you now, Gary Harrison, because round 3 is about to start. Well, I'm about 10 seconds behind, but I'm a lot closer than before. I'm a little bit close. I'll let you know when round 3 is starting for me. I'll let you know when round 3 is starting. I think I'm still a little bit behind you guys, but we're doing the best we can here. It is what it is. But look, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it is what it is. And the bottom line of it is, it ain't looking great for Joyce, right? Round 3 has just started for me. So we're having a look here. Joyce being a lot more aggressive. I think at some point he's going to have to fight fire with fire here. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to win this fight on the back foot or do too well on the back foot. But like I said before, watch out for Joyce, yeah, leaning back. Because when he starts leaning back, there's a big problem. Leans back and Zhang's waiting till he leans back and then he's completely unbalanced. He's trapped. And once he leans back, like I said, he can't adjust his feet. He can't move back anymore. And then Zhang stepping in and throwing that left hand straight in the target. Obviously, so far, it's 2-0 to Zhilei Zhang, really. That was a good round for Zhilei Zhang. 2 minutes 20 to go in round 3. It's a good straight left from Zhilei Zhang. Decent response from Joyce. I think Joyce now is deciding and realised now, look, I need to be the aggressor. And that's what he's starting to do. Joyce has now realised that he needs to be the aggressor. And he's starting to get on the front foot now and realising that he can't win this fight on the back foot. Joyce can win this fight on the front foot for me. He can win this fight on the front foot. He can win this fight being the juggernaut. He just needs to be careful about the angles that he likes to exit, like he likes to move into, move out of. He's just got to be careful with the intro angles in it. That was nice work from Joyce there. Little straight right hand, left hook, and then turn Zhang off the left hook. Keep going with that, Joyce. I mean, there you go, straight left hand from Zhang there, but not too bad. A lot more active from Joyce. Joyce actually beginning to look a little bit more like the juggernaut. But like I said before, just needs to make sure that he doesn't leave himself down that center line. And you can see Zhang there throwing that southpaw jab, and you can see Joyce is leaning back here, and his head is going right over his back foot. That was a good straight right left hand from Zhang. Joyce is in big trouble. Oh my God, he took it well. Joyce is in big trouble. Big straight left hand down the middle, flush on the chin. Joyce took it well. Big trouble there from Joyce. Went wobbly on the feet. It's almost like target practice for Zhang at the minute. Zhang with the jab, heavy jab. It ain't looking too good right now. Joyce, I have to say, I do think he's made improvements, but like I said in a minute, it's not enough in a minute to win these rounds. Joyce has got to just try and take this to the middle and later rounds. He's got to try and take this to the middle and later rounds, but it ain't looking good at all. 39 seconds to go in round 3. And the way he's leaning over on that back foot is really bad. And you know what? I have to be honest and say to you, yeah, this is what happens in the boxing ring when you don't refine your technique and you rely on, yeah, having an engine and having power. I have to say, Joyce technically, we always knew he was technically deficient, but my God, it looks absolutely terrible right now. Let's have a look. I've got 10 seconds to go in the 3rd round. Oh, that's it. Yeah, done. What a shot. That is it. 3 rounds. Wow, that is no way that's carrying on. That's the end of it. Joyce, oh my God. Career over and done with, man. Oh, well, that was a shocking prediction from me. Let's get the thing up. Wowzer. And that is it for Joyce at the top level. It's proper sad to see, you know, because Joyce is a really nice guy, but that was worse than the first. That was so strange because I thought Joyce fought better than he did in the second fight. So better than he did in the first fight. But he still got wiped out even quicker. What do you guys think? Do you think Joyce's performance was better in the first fight? I think Joyce technically actually was better in this one. But I just think you can't dine out, yeah, on let me just change just let me just quickly change that. You can't dine out on having an iron chin. I'm sorry. That's the bottom line of it. Wowza. I can't wait to hear that post-fight interview. I mean, Joyce, 37 years old. You know, sad to see. Knocked out. And you know what the funny thing is? Do you know how fickle boxing is? Sorry, I'm just changing the title of the stream. And let me just change what's going on, yeah? Quickly here. Wowza. Let me just quickly change this. It just shows you, doesn't it? I mean, how fickle the sport of boxing is. Do you remember when people were talking about Joyce and they were saying, Joyce is going to be, we love to see Joyce and Deontay Wilder. Press one. So I'm just changing things in the stream. Press one if you remember that. When people were saying, I can't wait to see Joyce versus Deontay Wilder. So you can really see in it, like the immovable fucking object versus the, you know, blah, blah, blah. And like I said before, you can't keep dining out in having an iron chin. Really done, guys. This is a one-man operation. Wowza. Wowza. Great shot. Zhang destroys Joyce. Really done. Is that career over? Guys, what do you think? I'll get a poll up in a minute. There we go. Bosh, and done. Chinese power, eh? Bloody hell. Chinese power. There we go. We've got it up on the stream. Right. Sorry about that. I'm here. Chinese power is real. What do you guys think? I'm back now. Lewis Lee says, great performance from Zhang. Listen, Zhang, do you know what the funny thing is? Honestly, I actually think Joyce fought a better game plan in this fight than he did. I thought he actually boxed better in this fight than the last fight. That was a cracking shot. But like I said before, you can't dine out on having an iron chin. And this was a beautiful little piece of work from Zhang there. Beautiful. Through the left hand, Joyce tried to counter him. I don't know what Joyce was doing there, because that's one of the hardest counter punches to land in boxing, by the way. Is to parry someone's fucking left hand and return fire with your own right hand. Off a parry. Like, Joyce was in the ring trying to pull off a fucking Floyd Mayweather move. Did you see how Joyce got knocked out? My God. Did you see how Joyce got fucking sparked out there? That was crazy. Why is he trying to be Floyd Mayweather Jr.? He tried to parry with one hand and then return fire with the same hand. Oh, dear. I don't think it's just because Joyce doesn't move his head. I don't think, like, big, tall guys like that don't, like, does Zhang move his head a lot in the ring? No, he doesn't, right? It's not just about moving your head. It's about coming in at the right angles, exiting on the right angles, and fucking, you know, bringing your hands back to your chin after you punch. Like, Joyce doesn't do the basics of boxing, you know? He doesn't. And I'm not just saying that because I picked him to win and he got beat, right? But Joyce doesn't do the basics of boxing. The basics of boxing are when you throw a right hand, bring your left hand back to your chin. When you throw a left hand, bring your right hand back to the chin. Joyce has never done the basics of boxing. And he's been found out. And I have to say, but I don't want to get on him too much because he's a lovely guy. Right, let's go through these comments. And then if people want to call him, they can call in. Dan W says, in the last fight without the cut, I believe he would have taken a decision with the late rally. This bout, he comes in heavy and can't move. It was obvious this would happen. You know what? I don't think it's even the heaviness. Listen, let me ask you a question, right? How do you go from having this so-called granite chin to getting fucking sparked out in 2 and 5 and 6 rounds in 2 consecutive fights? I think, look, Joyce is 37 years old, yeah? Maybe, right, Father Time is catching up. Maybe he just doesn't have the chin that he used to have. Maybe he doesn't have the chin that we thought he all had. Abs 1884 says, Joyce hasn't learned a thing. Another one who can't learn to think in the ring. No idea what to do under fire. Stuck in Kiev. This is about my comments. Again, people were talking about Deontay Wilder versus Joyce, who I think Frank Warren said he wanted to make that fight. Thank the fucking Lord that fight didn't get made, because that would have been murder. That would have been murder. Who sung that? LD Phoenix. Who sung that? Was it Chakademus and Pliers? Murder, she rolled. Murder She Wrote. Was that Chakademus and Pliers? Joe Joyce have to come out to Chakademus and Pliers, man, for a fight with Deontay Wilder. Randy Savage said Chinese power is real. Vanguard's a man has said Joyce had no power or movement whatsoever. He looks like he has CTE and he should retire. Listen, he's got a lovely girlfriend, Nadine. There's plenty of life left for Joe Joyce to win, to live. Big up Joe Joyce. He won a British Commonwealth and European title. No shame. Then no shame at all. Joe Joyce. He's had a good career, but I think in terms of him being a top, or maybe we're underrating Zhang. Let me know. I'll go through your comments. Do you think Joe Joyce can still fight at a world level at heavyweight? What do you guys think? Or are we destined to see Joe Joyce versus Fraser Clark, yeah, on a boxer pay-per-view near you? Look too easy from Zhang, says Gary Harrison. Crazy D3, shame he'll never get a title shot. 1-2 Pivot says, I honestly just think it's a really bad style matchup for him. Joyce would still beat a lot of guys. What do you guys think? Joyce won't go out without a Dubois rematch. There you go. That's the fight right there. That is the fight to make, isn't it? Daniel Dubois versus Joe Joyce. An eye for an eye, part 3. Jason Walker says, all those silly cunts who are arguing with me on Ultras Live about how Deontay Wilder wouldn't clean out. Listen, I can't laugh because, mate, I genuinely thought Joe Joyce was going to win tonight on points. Genuinely. And you know what? When I saw Joyce in that first round and the adjustments he was making, I really felt confident that Joyce was going to get this done. But my God, it was what it was. Dench wants to see Usyk and Zhang. Lol is saying, I mean, Zhang has arguably beaten Hrgovic and Joyce in fucking 2 of his last 3 fights, right? Am I right in thinking that? Like, in Zhang, which I think we all thought Zhang beat Hrgovic, right? Realistically, if you look at Zhilei Zhang, he's probably beaten Hrgovic and Joyce. I mean, how good is this guy? He looks like, to me, a future Tyson Fury opponent if Fury comes to Ngannou. And Lord knows what's going to happen with Fury and Ngannou because Fury's looking in dreadful shape. But if Fury comes to that fight with Ngannou, I think that Zhang is going to be an opponent for Tyson Fury. I definitely see that fight happening. In fact, that was the fight that Frank Warren wanted to make anyway, but then Joe Joyce exercised his rematch clause and pissed Frank Warren off because Frank Warren really didn't want Joe Joyce to get in the ring with him. You know about mate says, get Zhang in the ring with Wilder. Jesus Christ. Let's see. Boxing Manor says, as soon as I saw Joyce doing the shoulder roll, I knew it won't be long. Zhilei Zhang's in the ring right now, speaking through his interpretator. I can't hear what he's saying right now, but I'd imagine it's some kind of vehemently communist. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, exactly. Hrgovic and Joyce. Yeah. Toby Players says, just tuned in. Did Joyce get wiped out? Joyce got wiped out even more conclusively than the first time. This Zhang and this Chinese power gimmick, man. Listen, if Frank Warren's smart, yeah, if Fury comes through versus Ngannou, they need to do Fury versus Zhang, yeah, capitalism versus communism, and do it up like Rocky 3. Because Joe Joyce just got Apollo created in the ring, man, in front of about 250 people down at the O2 Arena. So now Tyson Fury got to fucking step in the ring, innit, yeah? And got to step in the ring and end this, innit? Capitalism versus communism, innit? With Tyson Fury playing the role of Sylvester Stallone and Zhilei Zhang, yeah, taking the role of Ivan Drago. It is what it is. Fucking get Jeremy Corbyn and Keir Starmer to walk out Zhang walking out with a communist flag. Let's have a look here. Albanian boxer says Zhang could knock out Fury. Anybody could knock out anybody in the heavyweight division. It is what it is. I've been said, he said to the crowd, do you want me to shut Tyson Fury up? Did he? I was going to make a joke there, but I ain't going to do it. Mr. Anderson says, we watched Joyce versus Wilder, Brazil versus Wilder. Jesus. Zhang just called Fury out. I don't know if Zhang's still a Queensberry fighter now. I don't know if Zhang is free or if he's still with Queensberry. I don't know if he's a free agent or whatever, but I would imagine that there will be now a Zhang versus Fury fight. Very, very legitimate fight. Very, very legitimate fight. And nobody can complain about Zhilei Zhang as an opponent for Tyson Fury as long as Fury gets through against Ngannou. But if that does happen, I do think that will be the fight. and they'll probably market it as some kind of tune-up for fucking Usyk, although it's a very, very dangerous tune-up. Milan says, Lord, what happened to the big juggernaut? Mate, it's... Do you know what it is? It's sad, because Joe Joyce is such a great guy, so I'm quite reluctant to take the piss out of Joyce because he's such a nice guy. He's a really nice guy, Joe Joyce. And like I said before, even coming out of the arena, he was fist bumping people and high fiving people. I hope he's a good guy, Joe Joyce. He's one of the very, very good guys in the sport. A gentle guy, isn't he? He's not a bully. He's a really good guy. So it is what it is. Like you see, Richie Woodhall there on TNT Sports. It was an absolute peach of a punch. The technique and set up by the jab. What next now for Joe Joyce? Daniel Dubois, innit? Blah blah blah. He said he wants Tyson Fury. There you go. It is what it is. Chuck says Zhang versus Fury in China. The Chinese will pay Fury even more millions. But will Tyson Fury make it back alive to the UK? That's the fucking question. He has to fucking behave himself over there, man. Can't go around to China, yeah? Tyson Fury calling people dossers, yeah? What does he call people? Calling people dossers and stuff. Mate, you end up in a fucking communist re-education camp. Tyson Fury. Imagine Big John Fury going over to China, yeah? And thinking he can act tough, yeah, against Zhilei Zhang. Big John Fury over there, yeah? And he's fucking pushing tables over and shit, screaming at people and grabbing his nuts. Big John Fury end up in a communist re-education camp, innit? They'll put him in a fucking cell with no underpants on, with fucking Mao's little red book in it for the next 10 years of his life. That'll be John Fury. He'll be locked up again, innit? John Fury being his underpants, yeah, in the hole, and all he'll have is fucking Chairman Mao's little red book in it to read for the rest of his life, innit? Don't send the Furies over to China. They might never come back, mate. They might never time. Oh, here we go. Mark Anthony says Joe Joyce has 5 times the bone density of a normal. That's Carl Frampton. That shit was. Listen, like I said before, I don't want to slag off Joyce because I picked him to win, but I have to say, I've been very critical of Joe Joyce's technique from the beginning, and I did call out all that shit about Joe Joyce, yeah, having fucking bone density 5 times the bone. It meant nothing, yeah, against Chinese power, innit? It meant nothing, yeah, against Zhilei Zhang. Randy Savage is saying Frank says he's still got a promotional deal with Zhang. Where did he say that? I never heard that. Let me know. Where did he say that? You guys like my communist re-education camp jokes. Dan Campbell says, damn, Zhang flattened him. That's what happens after years of walking into shots. The thing about Joe Joyce is, right, and I've said this for a while, right, about Joe Joyce, right? I've questioned, and people were having a go at me for questioning, but do you remember last year I was slagging off Ishmael Salas? Press one if you remember that, when I was slagging off Ishmael Salas, and I was saying, I don't know what the fuck these guys are doing. Like literally, like with Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is in the ring, yeah, against this lower level opposition, and he's getting his fucking head spun around, man. And there's certain guys on the payroll, I don't know what they're fucking teaching him, but he ain't bringing it into the fight. And I know I was actually criticizing Ishmael Salas, which is a very, very taboo thing to do because he's a Hall of Fame coach, right? But I was criticizing Ishmael Salas because some of the stuff that Joe Joyce was doing, hanging his chin out to dry, you know, you just can't box like that at the top level. You can't. At the heavyweight of all weights, the one weight where you need to protect your chin, you need to bring your hands back after you punch. You need to think about angles in, angles out. It wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. And you know what? Like I said before, Joyce did make improvements tonight, but I have to say one thing, and I have to be honest with you. Do you know what upset me tonight about Joe Joyce? The leaning back. You know what? That kind of thing, right? You have to understand. That is the kind of thing that you don't even see much at white collar level. Do you know if you watch Misfits boxing, right? Those guys have some form of technique to a level that when you watch Misfits boxing, you don't see them literally leaning backwards over their back foot in the manner that Joe Joyce was doing tonight. That, to me, the lateral movement was much better, but the leaning back over that back foot was so fucking bad. Like, that was so bad. And he must have been doing that in sparring, you know? He must have been doing that. He hasn't just started doing that today. He must have been doing that in sparring. I'm not joking, yeah? Have you ever seen the film Kickboxer? Have you ever seen a film where, what is it? He beats Van Damme's shins with bamboo to teach him a lesson, innit? Chevin loved that scene. What's the scene, yeah, where the guy, you know, he's training Van Damme to beat Tong Po, and he just starts whipping Van Damme, yeah, or he starts, you know, with bamboo sticks to fucking drill it into his head that there's certain things you can't do in a fight, man. Do you know what I mean? And just honest to God, man, Jesus Christ, you know, I'd be whipping Joyce with bamboo sticks. I'd be like, every time he gets on, don't lean backwards, man. Don't lean backwards, man. You trap yourself. Once you lean backwards and your whole entire body is coming over your back foot and all your weight is distributed onto your back foot, you trap yourself. You can't move no more, man. It's just so bad to watch, man. But then again, I'm a dickhead as well because I bought into the hype. I bought into the hype, didn't I? Because I started off on the right path, didn't I? Joyce is a disaster waiting to happen. I started off on the right path, but then I let Frank Warren talk me into. Do you know what? I agree with Hannah Zam. I'm blaming Frank Warren for this. I started off knowing that Joyce was a disaster waiting to happen. And then what did I do, man? What did I do? I let Frank Warren talk me out of it, man. Well, maybe he's the juggernaut. Well, maybe he's the juggernaut. Well, he's got 5 times the bone density of an average man. But you know what? He keeps coming. But you know what? He'll take one and he keeps coming. And you know what? Maybe I deserve, yeah, to get KO'd, yeah, by Zhilei Zhang for that. Maybe I deserve to get KO'd for that, man. Because that is shocking, yeah? Maybe I should have known better, yeah? Sometimes you just, you know, Conor Ben, if you're listening, Conor Ben, you might want to listen to this bit. Sometimes we just need to put our hands up and admit that we just fucked up. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we just need to put our hands up and just say, do you know what? I got duped. I got done. Conor Ben, yeah? And that's what I'll do tonight, yeah. LD Finney says, Frank sold us the Joyce dream. Absolutely shocking. Mr. Flash says, y'all guys got duped by the juggernaut persona. It's just Joyce really never fought a heavy-handed puncher before. Do you know what? Yeah. There might be some truth in that, you know. There generally might be some truth. Who are these? Oh, no, he fought Dubois. Dubois is a heavy-handed puncher. He did fight Dubois. And then you know what? That's crazy, you know. That's crazy that Joyce and Dubois gave him some licks in that fight. And he stood up and took all them licks from Dubois, but he can't go 3 rounds of Zhilei Zhang. Man, Zhilei Zhang must be one of the biggest punchers, yeah? He must be one of the biggest punchers, yeah, in a division. Gary Harrison says, Zhang still in the arena signing autographs, classy guy. There's a joke there I could make there, but I'm not going to I'm not going to make it. There's a joke I wanted to make there, but I'm not going to make it. Now he blames the promoter. Who is this joker? Oh, I see. Sorry, I read out your comment by mistake. I didn't realize you were looking for attention. Let me help you out with that. There you go. Take the L and hold that L. Oh, shit. I banned Randy Savage by mistake. Can somebody unban Randy Savage for me? Because I done banned him by mistake. So if there's a mod on here, yeah, please unban Randy Savage. I done banned the brother by mistake, man. Supposed to ban someone else. But like I said, like Joyce, my timing was off, innit? My timing was off. We got 300, yeah? Here we go. Hold on, let me bring him back. Lebosh. Here we go. Let me bang this clown. Lebosh. Done. Right. Tony, would you like to come on? I can see you're floating in the chat, Tony. If you'd like to come on, Tony, you're welcome to do so. Yeah, you're right. I don't know nothing about boxing. That's it. Cancel it. Cancel it. Please cancel it. Please cancel it. Absolutely. I don't know nothing about boxing. Absolutely. Joyce got smoked. He didn't see the shot from Zhang. Let's have a look here. Crazy D3. We're not talking about Conor Ben tonight. It is what it is. It was what it is. 1-2 Pivot says that was sad to watch. I think Tony's going to come on. So I'm going to send the link to Tony, innit? It is what it is. Absolutely shameful from Zhang destroying Joyce like that. Bro, it's I'm kind of shocked, you know. I'm sad for Joyce, you know, genuinely. I'm genuinely sad for Joyce. Danny says Zhang need to be calling out Fury day and night now. Bro, that fight's easy to make. Zhang and Fury. Easy. Frank never wanted Joyce to take the rematch. And he'll probably say so in the press conference. He never wanted him to take the rematch. Never wanted him to. Zhang wanted to do this fight with Fury. He wanted that to be the next fight. But Joyce had it in his contract that he was entitled to a rematch. And he exercised the rematch clause. And that was that. You know, he wanted his spot, didn't he? He wanted his mandatory spot back, or he wanted his WBO spot back. So it was what it was, wasn't it? Let me just get my headphones on because I believe we might be having Tony on here in a sec. So it was what it was. But yeah, Frank never ever wanted him to take that rematch. Tony, just give me a sec. I'm just setting my headphones up. Fury will duck Zhang to fight Jackie Chan instead. You got look. I'm glad we're hearing about how Zhang's a big time contender and how he's going to beat Fury. I'm glad to hear it, so that when that fight gets made, if Fury beats Ngannou, nobody can complain, and then we'd have to listen to another 6 to 12 months of guys complaining about the state of heavyweight boxing. So I'm glad everybody agrees that Zhang is a really dangerous opponent. Yeah. I don't know who else is. Oh, it's Chev. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Hold on. Let me just get my headphones ready. Oh my God, is this cunt video going to play? Here we go. Right, I believe my headphones are working and on. Lord Tony, can you hear me by any chance?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother. Bro, how are you? How's the shoulder? All good?
It's good. It's good. My soul's hurting right now. I got my box of tissues, like I said. I'm upset. I like Joyce, and damn, I wasn't expecting that. But I will say this. Let me get on my soapbox real fast. I felt like he deserved to go to the fourth round because he did beat the count, and the bell had already rung. So it wasn't like Zane could jump on top of him. I wish they would have given him another opportunity to continue, but they didn't. That's all I'm going to say. But this loss hurt. It hurt because he's 38 years old, and he ain't got much time.
Daniel Dubois rematch. Are you interested in that one, Tony? An eye for an eye, part 3?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know though, because I think Joyce's main thing in this fight was he looked very hesitant. He didn't really assert himself. I thought he won the first round, but that was more due to Zhang not really doing anything, filling him out. But Joyce looked like he was confused. He didn't know how to fight. He didn't know what to do. It was like he was fighting himself and trying to stick to the game plan, not to revert back to what he was. So I don't know. It was just real weird looking. The way that he boxed was different. I don't know. Like,
what did you think?
I think Daniel Dubois beats him.
Wow, that depends. Will Daniel Dubois might quit on the ring walk, so we need to have a chat about Dubois.
I mean, he could, but you got to understand. Joyce's main thing was I can take damage, and maybe just the accumulation of damage has gotten to him, and he's lost his punch resistance. And if that be the case, it'd be hard for him to be the power puncher, even one that quits.
I actually do see that. We've got Chev here as well, but Tony, let me just quickly say before I bring Chev in. Tony, did you spot what I spotted about Joyce leaning backwards when the shots were coming his way? Did you notice him leaning back and the man who was leaning back right onto his back foot, trapping himself and stopping himself from moving? Just let me know if you spotted that, Tony.
Well, that's what I mean. That's where it comes to. It looked like he was very unsure of himself. It always looked like he was. When he threw, he didn't throw with authority. He was always keeping himself out of position where the counter shot would come. So that tends what happens. You lean back and you put all that weight too far back where, like you said, you trap yourself. You can't really move. You can't position. You can't release combinations. And it showed because in this fight, he was very singular punch. So, yeah, I could definitely see what you saw.
All right. Let me bring Chev. Can you hear me, brother?
Yep, I can hear you very clearly. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Chev, before you blame Frank Warren, he never wanted Joyce to take this rematch. He never wanted Joyce to take this rematch. So this one's on Joyce, Chev. Let's hear it.
Pack your bags and leave my house. Your brother, remember? Do you want me to break my leg? Like this?
They won't get it.
Like this? Like this?
They won't get it. They won't get it.
No,
but that's what he needs, though.
Listen, man. Well, I'm happy because I had a big bet on Zhang by knockout, just like I had the first time, plus 1,200. But listen, I just think that this is no. I'm not discrediting Joyce. I'm like you. I thought that he looked better in terms of offensive things he was doing. The leaning back was bad, but I just think that we as boxing fans, myself included, I do this all the time. People get too over analytical about things, and the simple fact is that Zhilei Zhang is a better fighter than Joyce. And big up shout out to Baylor. He made a good point. He says, "Listen, the first fight was not an upset. Zhang should have won the fight. He won the fight, and he'll win again because he's a better fighter. Zhang, the resume boys, resume. Well, according to them, Zhang has now had 3 top 5 wins in his past 3 fights because he beat Hergovic, he beat Joyce, then he beat Joyce again. I think I've thought this since the first. I didn't think this after the first. I mean, I didn't think this after the Hergovic fight, but I surely thought it after I watched Zhang versus Joyce 1. I think Zhang would beat Joshua. I really believe that. I think he beat Joshua. So Zhang is definitely a top 5 heavyweight at this point. Interesting what they do next. As far as Joyce goes, there's no way in the world Frank is going to make Joyce versus Dubois next because the loser of that fight is truly finished. And if he wants to keep both of them still alive in the heavyweight division, at least top 15, top 20, or keep fighting, he can't match them because you can't have Danny Dubois lose at 24. So he won't make that fight. But I have a better comeback fight.
That's a great point about Dubois. That's a great
Exactly.
point about Dubois because you know what? Yeah, he ain't got long.
Years old. He loses to Joyce after Joyce been knocked out by a 50-year-old Chinese man. That's it. So the best comeback fight, I think, for Joyce, which also gives him some name recognition, make Joyce versus Ortiz.
Oh, shut the fuck up about this guy Ortiz, man.
No, keep Joyce away from Ortiz because these old men are obviously his kryptonite. But I want to say this. I'm fucking sick and tired of these fat dudes beating these muscular fighters. Like, they're making all of us look bad. Like, all these fat men are winning right now. This is ridiculous.
Well,
this is the year of Pillsbury. I don't like this shit.
Well, they're not waiting at the cardiologist. Trust me.
Let me ask you something. I'm gonna ask Tony something, and then I'm gonna go back to you, Shevin. Tony, let me ask you something quickly. If you were managing Joe Joyce, would you have had him take the rematch? Because Richard in the chat, has said, big up to SJAM management, done a brilliant job there managing their client. Do you think that Joe Joyce has been given bad advice by taking the immediate rematch with Zhilei Zhang? As you know, Tony, most rematches often go the same way, don't they?
Yeah, they do, but I'm going to tell you why. No. Here's the problem. It's Joe Joyce's age. He's 38 years old.
Yep.
If Zhilei Zhang goes on to fight somebody else and loses, then Joe Joyce loses all possibilities of being a mandatory. So he was mandatory for Usyk before he lost to Zhilei Zhang. Mm-hmm. And this was his way of getting it back. Had he not gone into the rematch, he would not have that opportunity. He would be in his 40s like Zhang is now before he would even possibly get back to a mandatory position.
Question,
so
Tony.
He had to take it. He didn't have a choice.
Tony, I agree with that too. Because of Joyce's age, you have to do it. If he was younger, then you swerve it. But at 38, you have no choice. What's your take, Tony? Because I truly don't know. People would give me smoke for this. I truly don't know about what happens between Zhang and Usyk. I think that's a really good fight.
Well, the thing about Zhang is, and I said this in the first fight with Joe Joyce, had they not stopped the fight, Joe Joyce would have beat him. No, Zhang is a 6-round fighter. If you can make it past the 6th round, you can win 7 through 12. So all Usyk has to do is win one of the first 6 rounds, and he'll win on points. The question is, can he survive?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, let's just. That's a good point. But I just we're keen to keep it on topic. So I just want to ask you something. I want to ask you this, Chev, and then I'm going to ask Tony this. Do you think that this is a bad style matchup for Joe Joyce? So do you think that if you put Joe Joyce in the ring with, let's say, like maybe a Martin Bacoli, if you were to put Joe Joyce in the ring with, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of someone who's fringe world level on the fringes. Do you think that Joe Joyce is still hovering around that world level, and that actually this is just a fucking terrible matchup, that just Zhilei Zhang has got his number, or is Joe Joyce really well and truly done?
Well, for me, I think that I don't think he's truly done, because some of the guys between, I would say, 10 to 15, I think Joyce has a shot at those guys. In terms of which ones with name recognition, I think Joyce would beat Dillian White. So if Dillian White's still going to fight again, I like that fight. I would slightly favor Joyce to beat White. Which
can I just say, ironically, that is exactly the fight that Frank Warren wanted to make before Dillian White popped positive. The original plan was, Joe Joyce, don't take this fucking fight. Tyson Fury was supposed to fight Zhilei Zhang, And Dillian White, I don't even remember. Dillian White showed up at was it Joe Joyce's last fight? I think it might have been but Dillian White showed up and said he wants to fight Joe Joyce, and Frank was up for making that happen. So that's what they wanted. Now, whether that can happen now that Dillian White's failed or not is what it is. But carry on, Chev, and then I'll ask Tony the same thing.
I'm pretty sure they can still make it, but two things right now. I can't see. There's no way in the world Queensberry, Frank, and Francis and those guys try to work with Dillian White at this point because of two reasons. Obviously, the way White acted in the Fury fight, the promotion, and you're not sure if he can pass a test up until fight night. Those are two factors make him. those two factors alone make him way too high a risk. So they can't. They're not going to do it. They can't do it.
Tony, let me ask you the same thing. Tony, do you think this is just like a really, really bad style matchup for Joe Joyce, or do you think like he's done?
Well, I would say a southpaw for anybody is a bad matchup, but Zhilei Zhang makes sense in the sense of dimensions. If the goal is to beat Tyson Fury, because I believe that's the number one guy, not Usyk. I think Usyk loses to Tyson Fury very easily. You got to find guys around that size, and Zhilei Zhang is really close to Tyson Fury. You figure Tyson Fury's coming in at 280 plus, Zhilei Zhang's 280 plus. Zhilei Zhang, they say is 6'6", but I think he's more like 6'7" in real life. So I think when you look at the stature, now Tyson Fury's turned into a power puncher, how he's stopping people. I think it's a good matchup to see the gauge. Like you get the reach, you get the height, you get the size, and it's a good segue into a Tyson Fury fight. The issue with Joe Joyce is this. When you look at the top guys, I mean, even if you look at like a young guy coming up from America, like
Sanchez,
Jared Anderson.
Oh.
Like, look at Jared Anderson. He's a power puncher who's got weight behind him, and he's tall. If you go to past champion Deontay Wilder, he's tall with a lot of power. If you go to AJ, even though he looks gun shy, he's 6'6" with a lot of power. And
who would you pick, Tony? Tony, who would you pick right now? AJ and Joe Joyce.
AJ.
I don't know.
Oh, Tony, it's AJ. I've always been. Oh, Tony, it's AJ, man.
I don't know.
Come on, Tony,
Here's
man.
what you got to understand, though. Here's what you got to understand. I don't know how AJ reacts if he gets hit really good against Joe Joyce. He may shut down altogether. I don't know. Because AJ won't be able to just jab, grab Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is much bigger than him. So the style that he's been relying on for these last couple of fights would be ineffective against Joe Joyce.
That's good.
So I just don't know where AJ is mentally. I think if he gets hit hard, that's why I think Deontay Wilder beats him today. I think prior to Ruiz, he would have destroyed Deontay Wilder. But today, this AJ, I think he's one good hard hit away from just shutting down for the rest of the fight.
What about AJ Zhang?
I think Zhang probably will stop him.
Me too.
Guys in the chat, guys, just mute yourselves for 1 second. I'm just going to bring in Vanguards of Manhood to have a chat. Guys in the chat, AJ versus Zhang. I'll be honest with you, I have to say Zhang's the favorite in that fight because if he does land, you do worry. Vanguards of Manhood, how you doing, sir?
Good evening, brother. I hope you're well. I must make a confession. I tipped Joyce to win tonight, TKO in 6th round, but I've been down to the Greenleaf, down in Brixton, and I've been on some serious gear. Because anybody thinking that Mr. Joyce should remain in boxing to fight who? He had no movement. He had no power. He had nothing. We talk about net zero all the time with climate change. Well, net zero is what we saw tonight from this poor brother who's in so much pain. He's being wheeled out like the donkey that Dillian White, the can man, used to accuse of Mr. Chisora. It's finished. It's done. What do you want from the guy? There's nothing left. You've squeezed everything out of him.
Well, hold on a minute. What about Joe Joyce versus Chisora? And we'll put that on pay-per-view and we'll call it loser leaves town match. That's it. Whoever loses must quit from boxing. Because the only way Derek Chisora is going to quit, the only way we're going to see the end of Sheikh Chisora, is if he gets one ultimate final beating. You've got the two of them in it. They're both as slow as molasses, yeah? I mean, both of them literally, telegraph their punches so much they're sent by carrier pigeon. I mean, literally, you'd be fucking waiting for a Joyce punch to get from fucking A to B. You'd be waiting for like, do you know what I mean? So
I mean,
I say just fuck it. Let's do it.
Yeah, are we at that stage now that boxing's become so shit?
Yes.
We've got to watch Del Boy, Five Guys Chisora taking on the Human Stone. I mean, there's no power in those punches. Guys that box, there's nothing there. You're talking about moving back. Yeah, you came out with some great analysis as usual about taking angles and stuff, but there's nothing in the punches. They're sweet fuck all. And those guys that are saying, I want to see Joyce get in the ring with AJ, man, come on, please. You're going to put Joyce in the category AJ. AJ isn't my number one guy. He's maybe top 4, top 5. But that's where heavyweight boxing is. Zhang, an old man, but he can box and he's got some power. Please show me where you saw any power from Joyce, even in the last 2 fights. He's tip-tapping. He's got nothing there. He's trying to set up and put platforms down, going back.
But
well, he lost power in the last fight because he dropped 25 pounds, which was stupid. So you put it off
and then he took your advice, Tony, and gained 100 pounds for this fight. So what you got to say about that?
Hold on. We have seen time after time after time fighters go up in weight and come down back to their natural weight class and never look the same after going up. Whether we want to use the UK as an example, look at Kell Brook. He went up there against Triple G, put on all that weight, and then lost all that weight coming down. Now that was less than 25 pounds, and he did not look the same. Because it affects your body. Whenever you pull off a massive amount of muscle, like Joyce did, 25 pounds of it, because it's very muscular, and you put it back on, it doesn't just work like that. You have lost something. You have taken something away from your body that may never be regained. You cannot be muscular and just lose weight. It's not that easy. So for a heavyweight to cut weight, it was just ridiculous. And he did look void of power. But I think in this fight, the void of power really came from he just was hesitating too much. He looked unsure of himself. And again, he looked like he was stuck in between what he normally does to what he was trying to do, which he's not good at. So I think that was the lack of power. It was just he never asserted himself.
Okay.
Well, look, it comes to the same thing. You're saying that he's lost weight. Other fighters have done similar before, but we shouldn't really look at Kell Brook. We shouldn't really look at these other people. Just the eyes don't lie. There was nothing in those punches. There was no power, and he threw a couple, but there was just nothing there. That's why Joyce has got zero movement. He has zero abilities to throw punches with any power on him. I think he's done. He's gone. There's nothing left. And it's sad. You guys that like him, you want to see this guy go and get his head smashed in even more. All that punishment is taking its toll. You must see that. Come on.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, and this is my last question. And then we'll move on to another caller. But I want to ask you, what happened to his chin, Vanguards? What happened to this guy's chin?
His luck ran out. You can't keep going to the well, my brother, all the time. You know what it's like. You see it around gyms. You see it with fighters. Every man has his time, and Joyce has run out of taking those punches. The granite chin was caught out and found out once and for all. Zing, zang, bam, thank you, man, is stronger than some of the stuff in Canning Town. Okay? And you know what I'm talking about, baby boy. I'll sign out and wish you well. You're still the best. You're the original. God bless you.
I really appreciate it, my brother. Thank you very much, my brother. See you soon. Guys, let me just quickly do a quick thing before we go on. We have got about 402 in the chat right now. I haven't looked at the likes yet, but I know when I look at the likes here, I'm probably going to end up on the floor like Joe Joyce and be unable to get up. Let's have a quick look at the likes. 405 for the chat, 86 likes. Absolutely, utterly disgusting. If you please like to hit the like button and please support this channel, please feel free to do so. If you'd like to be part of the chat, please feel free to subscribe. Abdul, I've put the link in the chat for you 670 times. So if you'd like to pop on Abdul and give your view, feel free to do so. Shevin, I don't want to do this to death, but if you've got anything else that you want to say on this and on any of the things, I'm actually going to try and get some of Frank Warren's pre-fight comments up on the screen. But have you got anything to add? Obviously, we can see on the right-hand side of the screen, Zhilei Zhang calls out Tyson Fury. Michael Benson thinks it's a knockout of the year contender, Joe Joyce versus Zhilei Zhang. And anything you want to add to that, Shevin? Anything you want to add about who you want to see Zhang fight next, where you rank Zhang in terms of heavyweights, etc., etc.?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing next up for Zhang. I could see them the Tyson Fury fight because I don't think the Usyk fight is going to happen next. As far as rankings, right now I would go Fury based on who beats who. That's all I care about. Who beats who? That would be Fury, Wilder, Usyk.
What?
Yeah. On who beats who? Because the reason I say who beats who is because the reason I have Wilder over Usyk is that if they follow each other, I think Wilder would beat him. So it's Fury, Wilder, Usyk, Zhang. Then I'll have to go Andy Ruiz, and then maybe Joshua because all 4 or 5 of those guys would beat Joshua in the fight, I believe.
Tony, before I bring in Abdul, how do you see where do you see Zhang in terms of the layout? Where do you think he goes next? Where do you see him in terms of the heavyweight division?
You got to put him up in there in the top 5. Because I mean, even if you go with his only controversial loss to Hrgovic is still a top 5 fighter, maybe top 6, depending on where you want to put him. And he's the current mandatory for 3 of the 4 major titles against Usyk. So you got to have him in there at least in the top 6. The order that I would put them in, I would say Fury number 1. I would put Usyk by default number 2. And the only reason why I have Fury over Usyk is because Fury's already won all the titles. So the 3 belts that Usyk has were Fury's. Number 3, I want to say Deontay Wilder, but he's just been so inactive. So I would have to say, oh, this is going to hurt me to say this. I'd say number 3, I'd have Hrgovic. Number 4, Zhilei Zhang. I put AJ number 5, and I'd put Wilder at number 6. And that's not saying I believe any of them would beat each other. That's just the order I placed them by what they've done. And then Ruiz, I would put in 7, but that's the fight I would like to see because he's not going to fight Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's going in against Ngannou and then potentially going into a UFC match if they really do it. Whenever you look at Usyk, he's got Hrgovic right there. That's got to get made. So I would like to see Ruiz and Zhilei Zhang because that would give, Zhang a real good notch over AJ if he goes in there and knocks him out.
That won't happen.
All right, let's bring in Abdul. Abdul, unmute yourself, Abdul.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Evening. How are you
How
guys?
you doing? Not too bad. Oh, Shevin just dropped off for some reason. Okay, Abdul, go for it.
Well, it's over, isn't it? It's another train that the fans need to jump off again. So
Come on, Abdul. Look, he's ranked
it's
number
always the
6
same.
by Ring Magazine. We can't give up on him, Abdul. Look, he's ranked number 6 by Ring
that
Magazine.
was a horrible knockout, man. I mean, when I've seen that, I was like, I don't know. It looks almost like not real because the way he fell, he lost control. He could have broken his arm. He could have broken his shoulder. He could have broken his nose. The way that he fell. Lucky he didn't do any of those things. But I think that it's the end of the road for him. It's like he's moving in cement.
Yeah.
When he's like, he can't I mean, he was slow all those years ago when he was doing the amateur boxing competition against Usyk. It's on YouTube, and he was moving slow. He was a bit quick them times, but now he's just really, really slow, and he's got no pop in his punches, as mentioned he used to win by volume.
Yeah.
But he can't even do any volume punches now anymore. He's not stringing them together. He's worried about what's coming back. And I think, for the people around him, if they want him to have a good quality of life, they should tell him to pack it in.
Do you think, I was going to ask you if you think that it's just a bad style matchup with Zhang, but I want to ask you about what you just said there and about this is a guy who has, made a career out of taking punches in the head. In hindsight, that probably wasn't the very smartest decision to do, was it, Abdul?
No, I mean, the more time you get your chin tested, the more time it's going to crack. And once it cracks, it's over. You cannot, that's it. It's gone. You can't get it back. We've seen that with a lot of fighters. I mean, we've seen that with AJ. Now, AJ, a little shot and he starts wobbling. And you think, okay, is he going to get knocked out now? Once it happens, it only takes one time. But once the chin sort of cracks, then you are susceptible to getting knocked out. So that's I don't know. That's the danger about leaving your chin there and having it checked, constantly getting checked. You shouldn't do that. If
make it.
it's checked here by force because it was out of your hands, okay, but not when it's in your hands. You don't leave it out there just
I
to
agree.
get tested.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. Where do you think? Do you think that actually what's going on here is that we all just underestimate Zhilei Zhang, and that actually this guy's just a lot better than we actually anticipated in general?
To be honest, when I seen him against Hergovich, I knew this guy's a problem, and I knew that he was really good. I heard before then, but once I seen Hergovich, that he lost that night. To me, this guy's an unbeaten fighter. So as a Joyce, well, just how can you be that cocky and take on someone like that and think, oh, yeah. I mean, that's what it is. That's all you box rec nerds. This is what it does. This is how promoters and matchmakers, this is how they make big mistakes, because they look at that box rec and think, oh yeah, he's got one loss. Yeah, okay, let's stick him in there. But really, he's an undefeated fighter. He's not a one loss. He didn't have a one loss. He's an undefeated fighter. So, I think Frank Warren is not really worried, to be honest. I think he was looking for a way to get rid of this guy off his books, and now he's done that.
Nah, come on, man.
I'm not lying, guys.
Come on,
I'm sorry, guys. That's what it is to me. The Daniel Dubois is the favorite child, and he's the middle child, isn't it? He couldn't stand, and now he got him out of the way. Now he's gone.
Well, there's still the rematch there if he wants it. All right, Abdul. Sign us out, and then we're gonna sign out with Tony. Sign us out with your final thoughts on where the heavyweight division lies and Fury and Zhang. You up for it? I think
I'm up for it. I want to see it more than the Usyk fight, to be honest with you.
Who do you think's more dangerous, Abdul? Who do you think's more dangerous, Zhang or Usyk? Dangerous.
I think Zhang is more dangerous because Fury, what he does is he uses his body, he leans on people, he tries to bully people. He's no way that he's gonna bully Zhang. And I'm telling you guys now, on the way in, Zhang is exactly the same height, if not taller than Fury. Fury inflates his height. When he was standing next to Ngannou, he didn't look that much bigger, and he's saying he's 6'7", and Ngannou's saying he's 6'4". So this guy is inflating his height. He's 6'6", at most 6'7". If he's more 6'9" is a myth. He's nowhere near 6'9". So this Zhang guy has the power, and Fury, he would beat him if he was moving around. But if Fury is not gonna move around and he's not fleet of foot anymore, and he's gonna stand there and trade, then I fancy this Zhang guy to do it. But because Fury's chin is not really that great. He takes a lot of shots and he gets back up, but you're not gonna get up from a shot like that. That shot, I think, is more devastating than Wilder to an extent, in a sense that it's so well timed, so well placed. It's like, you're not gonna get back up from that, I think. And because Wilder's a smaller man, he's got a lot of power, but this guy is a big man, natural. He's not really putting on any fake muscles by, lifting weights or anything like that. He just naturally, if he didn't lift weights, he looks like that. And when someone's like that, that's natural, Joyce, he put on muscle, but that's artificial. Your body, he wasn't designed to hold that weight, if that makes sense. So that's why he's going to move around and he's going to struggle. His lungs are going to struggle. His muscles are going to struggle. His bones are going to struggle, because that's not how he's built. Everyone knows that by experience. When you put on weight that your body, your frame was not meant and designed to hold, then you feel it. You can't even do basic tasks anymore that you used to do. You're struggling, you're out of breath. And I think that's what Joyce done by putting on that weight. It's not his natural weight. So I would like to see Zhang and Usyk more. Zhang and Fury more than I want to see Fury and Usyk. And maybe even I want to see Zhang and AJ. Why not? But I think you suggested Martin Bakoli.
I'll speak to Billy Nelson about that, Abdul, when we get off the air.
No, but you said the Bakoli, and I think Bakoli is all wrong for Joyce again, because you know why?
He allegedly, I believe, according to Billy Nelson, he pinged him around, didn't he?
Of course, I believe it, because I realize, I'll tell you now what this guy's kryptonite is. This guy's kryptonite is fast hands. If you have fast hands, that's it. You're getting rid and power behind those fast hands. Real power, not Dubois. Dubois does single shots. That's why he was able to get rid of Dubois. But if you do combinations, which Bacoli does, Bacoli knocks him out. If I was Bacoli's manager, I would be phoning the Joyce's line and blowing it up and saying, "Please, let's fight."
Fuck that. We ain't helping boxer. All right, Abdul. I really appreciate you, my brother. And thank you very much for coming on, man.
No
Take
worries,
care, man.
All the best.
See you soon, my man. See you soon. Tony, unmute yourself because we're going to sign out. I just don't have the love for this. Tony, this British boxing done sucked the life out of me, Tony. I don't have the love for British boxing no more, to be honest with you. But let me ask you a couple of questions that I haven't asked before.
Okay.
Let's start first and foremost with amateur boxing versus pro boxing. How the fuck did Joe Joyce win a silver medal in the amateurs when he's got absolutely... I think we'd all agree. I mean, we all know that boxing is a very physical sport. You don't have to be technically great. But how the fuck did this guy win a silver medal and arguably should have won a gold medal when he has absolutely no technique to speak of? Isn't it another indication, Tony, of, again, that amateur boxing and professional boxing are two different sports?
Well, they're completely different sports. In the way that they're scored is different. You know, it's more professional now in the amateurs than it used to be. But back whenever he was boxing, it was just the white of the glove, if it touched the head or the body the most. And he's a volume puncher. So volume punchers normally do really, 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 really well in amateurs. You got to keep in mind, too, that he used to be a lot skinnier and more fluid and fought in a different weight class because even him and Usyk fought way back. So, again, he was never the juggernaut when he was an amateur. He was much smaller. So that right there has something to account for it as well. So I do agree. The amateurs is different, but I won't say he's technically trash. I would just say that I think he bought into his own hype and believed that he was the juggernaut. And because of that, he didn't hone in on skills he should have on the way up.
And that's the next question I was going to ask you. In this country, Tony, we hear a lot about learning fights. All right. You may have heard that term here. He's learning on the job. Yeah. Learning fights. Do you think, that actually, looking back, that maybe Joe Joyce, he had that fight with Daniel Dubois. Frank Warren brought him over to lose to Daniel Dubois. That was the whole point. And then actually Frank realized, shit, this guy's actually much better than I thought. I better sign this guy. And maybe that was kind of where it went all wrong for Joe Joyce, because, you know, if he'd had big backing from an Eddie Hearn or a Frank Warren early on, and he'd have been the A side from early on, maybe they would have invested and pushed a little bit more on his development. But as a result, he was the B side until he beat Daniel Dubois. Frank signed him up at the last minute, but his careers never have that development. What I'm trying to say, Tony, is, do you think questions have to be asked about this man's preparation and what the fuck he's actually been doing, for the last like fucking 3, 4, 5 years? Because it looks like he stepped up a level and he's just looked like a fish out of water. Do you understand what I'm saying there, Tony?
I mean, I don't know. Yes and no, because you got to understand. When you look at Zhilei Zhang's record, it's really not that good professionally outside of him fighting Hrgovic, which he lost. Whether people believe he lost or won the fight, that's irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, history says he lost that fight. And even if he did win the fight, he barely won the fight. It was extremely tight. So Zhilei Zhang doesn't have the best resume either as far as building up. Like Joe Joyce, he had a good amateur career. So both guys had a good amateur career, but as far as professional, I think they were both very similarly matched when it comes to resume. Outside of that, look, I'm going to say allegedly because I can't prove it. I think Frank Warren always wanted Joe Joyce to lose. I think that's why they stopped it over the eye injury. That was a non-factor because he could still see out the eye, and there was no reason for that first fight to be stopped. Because, like you said, Triple D was supposed to beat him. Frank Warren looked like he was about to have a fucking nervous breakdown. Like he was literally crying when Daniel Dubois lost to Joe Joyce, and they were both signed to him at the time, which was crazy to me. Then, because he lost to Zhang, that bumped Triple D up to getting the shot with Usyk where it should have been Joe Joyce fighting Usyk. So, as far as like the come-up fights, it's hard to say because he's 38 years old. Like, you can't work him the same as you can work, say, a Torres, who just went pro, who was a good amateur. He's not young. So, those build-up fights, you really lose those when you start so late in life in the pros.
No. I don't know, Tony. I've always questioned Joe Joyce, and I just question what's going on with the people around him. I question what's going on with Ishmael Salas. I'm not saying Ishmael Salas isn't a good coach, but I do question it because I think, yeah, to be honest with you, this Joe Joyce KO has been coming for a long time, Tony. And I got on the hype train after he beat Daniel Dubois a little bit. And maybe, because I used to call him, an accident waiting to happen. I used to call him one of the biggest accidents waiting to happen in all of boxing. And I was quite vocal over that. And I'm a bit disappointed in myself, actually, because I think that I've bought into the hype a little bit too much over the Dubois fight. But Tony, sign us out, with your final thoughts, on this fight. And just give us a recap on where you think Joyce goes and blah, blah, blah. And then we'll all go home. And I'm not watching Conor Benn tonight, by the way. People have mentioned that in the chat. I know Conor Benn's fighting tonight. I'm not going to watch Conor Benn because it's not fight I'm really interested in. But if something interesting happens, maybe we'll talk about it. But Tony, sign us out with your final sort of overview on what's happened tonight. And what would you do with Joyce? What do you think you should do next?
I think Joe Joyce is probably finished at the top level due to his age. I would say that if money's a factor, then let him continue to fight, but you need to give him like B-level tier fighters, and maybe that eventually in a year, 2 or 3 years, when he's 40, 41, maybe he could get back into contention. But I would give him them learning fights that you said that you thought he needed on the way up. Give it to him now if he wants to continue boxing, because he's not going to be at the top no more. Start him off with soft touches, kind of like what we saw Anthony Yard just fight with Silva. Start him there, and then try to move him back up. And maybe by the time he's 40, 41 years old, you can put him in there with a more quality level fighter. By that time, say like a Frank Sanchez or somebody, and see what happens. But again, if he doesn't need the money and he's financially stable, I think it's time to get out, because his one strongest attribute, the chin, is gone. It wasn't just cracked, it's been shattered. So when your main attribute leaves you, that's telling you Father Time's knocked on the door, opened it, came into your house, and he's eating out of your refrigerator naked while he's fucking your wife. So it's over. You're done. You might as well go ahead and get divorced from it. You've already lost. As far as Conor Benn goes, I think it's going to be a very egg-tastic fight tonight. Is excellent. No, I hate that fight. He's fighting some guy named Oreo,
who's actually, ironically, quite a bit taller than him. I mean, I'm sure it won't make any difference, but that's quite an interesting change of opponent.
I'm being honest. I hope he gets knocked out by Oreo. I hope Oreo just knocks the shell off of him. You see him leaking his yolk all over the mat. Like, I hope this dude loses. He was never, from my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know, but allegedly he was never cleared by UCAD, but yet now he's making my country look bad. Like, why did America sponsor this? I have no idea. He has no business in the ring. Like, he should not be fighting. Outside of that, if you haven't done it, hit them thumbs up. We need it. There's a bunch of people watching, but there's not enough thumbs up to equal to that. So if you're good at math, go ahead, hit the equation, up the algorithm, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't done it yet, subscribe to the channel. This is the #1 boxing talk channel on YouTube in the UK, blowing up, taking over. And soon he's going to be there with Simon Jordan with more views than Talk Sports. I'm signing out. This has been Ultra Tech taking over. Y'all have a good night.
See you soon, Tony. See you soon. Guys, let me go through some final comments. Buatsi, and that was interesting, by the way. I'll quickly mention that. Anthony Yard on TV said it. He wants the Buatsi fight. Yard's always wanted that fight. He wants that fight. Then Yard wants that fight. Zach Parker wants that fight. Zach Parker wants that fight. So it is what it is, isn't it? Who's Anthony Yard versus Zach Parker? Anthony Yard versus Joshua Buatsi. That could be happening soon. Guys, not on my best tonight. It is what it is, isn't it? Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe it's time for me to call it, maybe my chin's being checked like Joe Joyce, Sometimes you got to look at yourself in the mirror, yeah? And let me leave you with this, yeah? Especially as Conor Benn's fighting tonight. Sometimes you just need to look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself and say, do I have it anymore? Do I still have my hair anymore? No, I don't. Do I still have a big dick anymore? No, I don't. Do I still have the same testosterone levels that I used to have? No, I don't. In sparring, am I still able to spar the way I used to? No, I'm definitely not. So sometimes, like I said before, we all need to just look ourselves in the mirror and say, maybe it's time to call it a day. And that's exactly what I'll be doing right now. But like I said before, if there is some more breaking news, maybe we will see each other somewhere down the line. Take care of yourselves and each other.